What are you doing? What is the thing that is occupying the majority of your mental energy right now? What are you thinking about? What are you worrying about? And why? These are important questions. Your why is very important, but the what of what you're doing is also very important too. Because the what of what you're doing, where you're spending your energy, your mental energy and your physical energy, those are the things that are going to dictate where you go next. Right now, we are in a time of change. Just like yesterday and last year and the year before that. I remember a few years ago hearing about this new disease that was spreading around the world before it reached the US and thinking, well, wow, hopefully that doesn't come here. That seems like it'd be pretty disruptive. Next thing we knew, the world was shut down, and guess what? Basically everything changed. And we adapted, and we came through it. Well, now we're at a time where the internet's changing. Information is changing. The way people interact with information is changing. Artificial intelligence is changing the name of the game. And the ways that we've gone about building business in the past are going to need to change to be successful in the future. That's okay. In fact, as change comes, you know what we see? We see a lot of businesses fall by the wayside. Now, that's scary because you don't want that to be you. But it's also opportunity, because with every change, there are new industries, there are new things being created, and there are new ways to interact with technology and with people. And the people that are willing to adapt with that change, and the people who are willing to put in the real effort to build something of value going forward, those are the people who will succeed. So I go back to my original question. What are you doing? Are you focusing your time and attention on figuring out what you can create, what value you can add to the world so that you can be compensated for it? Are you spending your time and energy, well, on Twitter, looking at what everybody's saying about how awful the SERPs are? Now, they're not wrong. When I talk about the SERPs, for those of you who aren't familiar with that phrase, we're talking about search engine results pages. These are the pages when you type in a search, like in Google, and you see a listing of results. Those pages right now are unhelpful, in large part, ironically, given that Google has called this their helpful content update. They've essentially replaced helpful blog content with Reddit and not a lot else. Now, we can talk about that, we can complain about that, and I think there have been some pretty funny things said about that, and some really scary things said about that, but is that helpful to dwell on how crummy the search results are right now? Is it helpful to dwell on how many people's websites have lost a bunch of traffic? Probably not. I would say definitely not. When I look at what's happened as a result of the changes that Google has made, I see a lot of people who have worked really hard, who have had their income quickly taken away. You know what else I see? A whole bunch of people who tried to cheat and spam the system and get away with it for a long time. Their entire business model has been destroyed. And to that, I say, good. Now, those are the words or the word of Jocko Willink, who, when looking at tough things that happen in life, that's the attitude that he takes. And that was pretty eye-opening to me, because no matter what happens to you, no matter how bad it seems like it could be, there's opportunity there. Right now, things are changing. As a result of that, guess what's happened? A whole bunch of cheaters have had their business model taken away from them. And that has opened the door to people who are willing to create real value and establish a real reputation to be able to build business and to be able to create content that actually helps people. Now, is that content currently today surfacing at the top of the search results? Not really, but it will. That's because right now we're at the end of a round. But if you're familiar with boxing or really any other fighting or many other sports, there are rounds. And the end of the match doesn't come for many more rounds. The cool thing too is that this kind of game is like a merry-go-round, where the rounds just keep going and going and going and going. And the game only ends when you decide that you're gonna get off. So that's my question for you. What are you doing? Are you whining and complaining? Because if you are, you're off the merry-go-round right now. You're not actually making any sort of progress. Do you want to get out of the fight? It's okay if you do. You can just do whatever it is that you were doing before you got into trying to create a business. It's not for everyone, it's hard work. But if it's something that you still want, the fight isn't over. Google's not done changing or adapting. We're not done changing and adapting. And as we create real value, we're gonna come out on top. Now, I'm optimistic about this, and I'm that way by choice. Did you know that optimists and pessimists actually live in different worlds? Julia shared with me an interesting study that happened a few years back, where a bunch of people in a room were invited to play a game. And in this game, they would pair up with another person and they would play a round of the game. That one round wasn't the whole game. It was just one little round. And in that round, there would be some sort of interaction that took place. And you had a few options. You could play fairly and you'd have a winner and a loser, and the winner would win points and the loser wouldn't. There was also a way in the game that you could cheat. And if you cheated and won, because the other person didn't cheat, you got the points. But if you cheated and the other person cheated, you would still get points, but not as many points. So people who were naturally optimistic and who wanted to be trusting of other people, those people would play the game. And you know what? Every once in a while, they'd get stuck with somebody who was more pessimistic and that would cheat. And whenever they did, they would lose and the cheater would win the points. What happened was, once they knew that that person would cheat in the game, they would never play with that person again. But they also spread the word. They'd play with another person and they'd say, hey, that person over there, they're a cheater. Don't play with them. And pretty quickly, what happened is the room divided into two groups of people. People who were willing to play the game fairly because they just assumed that the other people were also going to be honest. And then there were the people who assumed everybody else is going to cheat anyway. And so if I don't cheat, I'm going to lose. It's that game theory. If I assume everyone's going to cheat, then it's in my best interest to cheat. And that's why we call the cheaters pessimists. And before long, they lived in different worlds. The optimists would no longer play with the pessimists at all, because they would cheat, or at least there was a risk that they would cheat. And they would only play with each other. And in the end, the optimists ended up with more points overall, independently, each one of them, because they'd play this game. And even the ones who didn't do as well in the game ended up with more points than the pessimists, because the pessimists always ended up maxing out at just the smaller number of points. When you live in a world of pessimism, you end up surrounding yourself with other pessimists. When you live in a world of optimism, you surround yourself with other optimists. When you are an optimist, you are far more likely to persevere, to do what needs to be done, to create something that matters, and to just put in the work until you get the outcome that you want. You might lose around here and there. That's okay. We're all gonna get hit down a few different times, and we're gonna lose around here and there. But the beautiful thing is, it's not over. Right now, a lot of us are losing this round because an external force called Google has changed the game on us, and we have to learn a different rule set. That's okay. We can be down this round, but we can learn from what's happened. We can see the way that our opponent is striking at us, and we can change the game ourselves. Instead of focusing on just creating content and hoping that that turns into a good income, we can focus on creating a brand and doing real marketing, things that we talk about here on this channel all the time. And in doing that, it won't matter what Google does, because we won't be relying on just them. We'll be relying on so many different sources of traffic, but also we're going to be relying on people, individual people who we have interacted with in the past and who have had a positive experience with us, and as a result, who want to work with us in the future. Now, in case you're feeling like, I just don't know if that's me, I don't know if I have what it takes to be successful as a business person, that's okay, I understand you. But before you give up, I want to share with you something that was said by one of the former presidents of the United States, Calvin Coolidge. I love this quote because I have seen it play out over and over and over again. Here's what he says: nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, "Press on," has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. Don't expect to come up with the best solution overnight. Don't expect that you're going to have a strong business that is resilient in just a week or two. Expect that it's going to take persistence. And if you're willing to be the person that is persistent, you will come out on top. I've seen it over and over and over again. The people, especially in content creation, the people that stick with it and are still creating content and still focused on creating value after a year or 2 years or 3 years, they find themselves doing really well. And the people who always sought the easy way out, or who just relied on their education or their talent, but didn't put in the work, those people, well, we hardly remember who they are. And what I love about that is entirely in your hands. You decide. Are you gonna persist? Are you gonna put in the effort? Are you going to learn what you need to learn and do the things that you need to learn to build a resilient business and take control of your financial life, of your time, and be able to have the things that you've always wanted to have in life, whether that is things or whether that's opportunities or just freedom of your time. That's up to you and does not depend on Google. It doesn't depend on your born talent. It doesn't depend on the amount of education you were able to get. It just depends on you. So let's make it happen.